Welcome to Wrong Time Watch. My name is Kevin, and today we're looking at the Spinnaker Dumas Sahara. Sahara is for the dial color, which they call a cream dial. Also, the loom on the indices and the hands in the bezel is all a similar color. I can't tell if it's the exact same color, but it looks close enough. So the price for this watch is $400 on the Spinnaker website, but it looks like it's currently out of stock. It's definitely a unique watch. It has this octagon case shape with the hex-shaped bracelet links. Also, if you look at the side of the case, it's sort of a hexagon as well. You get 6 sides here. I do like the chamfered edge on this case. It's not exactly my style, but it's nice to have something different. So on their website, which I'll leave in the description below, link to their website, they describe it as a vintage 1970s inspired octagon shaped case. The crown's it's a little different too, and actually they don't even mention this. They don't even mention this crystal or glass or whatever this is. Plastic maybe covering the signed crown. Come on, camera. There we go. Also, the way that the case is designed, it looks like an integrated bracelet almost. Not quite, but from this view, it looks like an integrated bracelet. And I'm sure if you would put a leather strap on here or rubber or whatever, it'd look nice. It would tuck underneath this case here. So let's zoom in and look at the dial. Before we talk about that, it does have a flat sapphire crystal with AR coating applied underneath. The bezel insert, the website says that it's glass, so I'm assuming the bezel insert is mineral crystal. Kind of an odd choice there. I prefer to see this as sapphire. Maybe it is. The website doesn't really make that too clear. This is a loomed bezel insert behind this glass. This is a Random Rob tour watch, and I'm the last guy on the tour, so you may see some marks on this watch. There's some scratches, but I'm not really seeing anything on this bezel. So anyway, back to the dial. It does have applied indices, and these indices are pretty tall, so that's a nice touch. It has a black outline around the indices, which obviously helps in differentiating the indice from the dial, or being able to see the indice. I like that raised minute track as well. And then you have military time on here. The handset, I don't know. I would prefer the hour hand and the the hour hand and the minute hand to match. This minute hand is so huge, I almost think it's the hour hand, but it's not. I would like either 2 sword hands or 2, I don't know what you call that, rectangular hand. And the orange is nice. I do like orange, but orange on cream is not as easy to see. Actually, let me move this minute hand, because one thing I really don't care for is that black date window. It is boxed in with a black outline, but then the date window is also black. I don't know why they did that. I guess maybe to coordinate with the hands. Just a weird choice. Anyway, actually, I'll show you. Let's talk about the bezel. The bezel is very hard to turn. It doesn't help that the bezel is inside of the case, or the case sticks out farther than the bezel, and it's very stiff. Which is not too bad right now for me, but it's quite stiff. Let's find it easier to turn with my fingernails. Also around the perimeter you'll have orange marks there too. Not sure if those are really necessary, but they are there. Okay, let's look at the case back, and you'll see the Seiko NH35 movement. Also, there's text here, water resistant to 300 meter, sapphire. Here's the model number here, SP-5081, automatic movement, and stainless steel. It is a 316L stainless steel, again with a mix of brushed and polished surfaces here. So for the bracelet, we have solid end links, solid links. These two portions of the clasp are stamped, and then the center part is milled. All right, so one issue I ran into with this watch, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you may have seen a picture of this. This watch has a dive extension, and when I sized the watch for my wrist, I actually originally had removed 4 of the links, but then I had to put one of the links back in because it was too tight, and these are the links here. It's just a push pin, very easy to size. I know some folks don't like the push pins, but you know, it's really easy for me to size. I much prefer this over pin and collar. But anyway, I had to add one of those links back in, and then when I size the micro adjust to this third hole position, the dive extension would not close in here. And if you look at it here, you can see why. The dive extension is all the way to the end with only 2 of the micro adjust, with only being on the second micro adjust. So only 2 of the micro adjust are usable. So it's kind of a bummer. So most of my dislikes with this watch are personal preference. I don't really care for the styling. Don't like the crown either. It's okay to use. It's just kind of a weird shape, and it feels a little weird. The knurling is quite large, but it does kind of match the knurling on the bezel here. It's kind of long and thin, but it still is a pretty good sized crown. It's a 7mm crown. So let's talk about the rest of the dimensions. These lugs are fairly short considering the size of the case. So I measured the lug to lug at 48.2mm. Case diameter I took from the Spinnaker website. They call it a 44. I kind of measured it at 43.5, but it's a weird shape, so I just went with what they have on their website, which is 44. The bezel I measured at 42mm. The thickness is quite a thick watch at 15mm thick. It is rated to 300 meter water resistance. As I mentioned, the crown is a 7mm crown, which is a good size for a dive watch. You can access it pretty easily. The lug width is 22mm lug width, and then it blossoms out here to 24, and it does taper back down to 20. Still feels like a fairly thick bracelet. I would like to see it taper down to 18. Tapering bracelets are much nicer to wear on wrist. They're more comfortable, and I think they look better too. But again, that's personal preference. Okay, so the other kind of negative with this watch for me, but maybe it's a positive for you, is the weight on this thing. It looks and it feels like a tank. It is 185 grams. So it's definitely a solid chunk of metal here. So I was asked in the unboxing to compare it to the Submariner. I think more so for the weight, but the Submariner size for my 6.5-inch wrist weighs at 149 grams. This watch is also rated to 300 meter, and it's not nearly as thick as that watch there. Now, let me take this off. Zoom out a little bit. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover on this watch, so after looking at these side by side, I'll get it on my wrist. I'm sure no one that is buying this watch is considering this watch as an alternative, but you know, it's kind of fun to look at these two together. And as far as the thickness, see quite a bit of difference there. Sorry, I got some smudges on this one. It's kind of what happens with a highly polished case. There we go. Nice and shiny. And you know what? We'll throw the SKX in here too. Actually, I might even throw them both in for the Loom comparison for the fun of it. So here it is next to the SKX. Similar price range for both of these. Wait, let me get this thing on wrist, and then we'll take a look at the Loom in just a moment. Set these off to the side. All right, let's get this on my 6.5 inch wrist. So there is 48.2 millimeter lug width. And it is a little loose on my wrist. I prefer it be a little bit more snug, but that third micro adjust is not usable. If you have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. Like the video and leave a comment below. All right, here we are zoomed out. Yeah, you know, it's the octagon case, I think. It makes it look a lot larger. The lug to lug, it should look fairly small. And it does have a 44 millimeter diameter, but I think it's the octagon case with these corners right here kind of makes it look like a larger watch. Same way that a rectangle watch or a square watch looks larger than what the dimensions would indicate. And here we are looking at the thickness. The bracelet, I just feel it's just too wide. So let me know what you think of the watch, and we'll pause the video and come right back with the Loom. All right, so, well, you probably already know, but SKX is on the left. Spinnaker Dumas is in the middle. And, of course, on the right, we have the Rolex Submariner with its bluish Loom. Spinnaker, not quite as bright as the SKX. I was hoping the Spinnaker would be a little brighter since it has those large indices and large hands, and also the loomed bezel, but the Loom is not quite as bright as the Seiko or the Rolex for that matter. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.